Hey, good morning, everybody. Morning, Kimberly, my lovely boss, aka my wife. Anyway, good morning, good morning, good morning. Whew, what a day yesterday was, right? And let's get started, shall we? So, kicking it off, all trading involves a substantial risk of loss. Past performance not necessarily indicative of future results. As in, I may never get this right ever again. This presentation here, informational, educational, and fun, and is not a recommendation to buy or sell anything out there. Despite anything I might say that I'm doing, you got to make your own decision. And if you need personal financial advice, you got to hire and consult a financial advisor if you don't have one. And whew, what a pullback we got. The S5FI, looking at bar chart here, all the way down below that 50 zone where I was talking about that we might go, popping over, and looking at this one, look at that right there, right down almost to the level where I drew the big arrow several days back. Wow, that was a move down. Let's talk about something else here. So this chart right here, I showed this on January 17th. That's the date on this chart right here, January 17th. I said, in my Discord, I posted this first. And I said, here's the two potential paths. We're either going to break out of the purple, rally up to about this zone and pull back right there. Or at the time, it looked more likely that, proof was in the pudding. We were going to hold the purple downtrend line, retrace here, and then break out. Well, we broke out immediately. And yesterday, this was the situation. Right? We had broken up. I haven't moved these two white arrows here. I removed the ones that were down here below. We rallied up, poked a little higher than I thought we would. And we would do the retrace right here. And then by the close yesterday, look at that right there. Almost to the day. We could push just a little lower, 39.75, 39.24. That's the support levels here. But we can hold right in the zone and bounce. Now, let's look at the S&P 500 chart right here. Look at that. This is why I said we can bounce from right here. We pulled right down to the daily roadmap line right there. Crazy, right? I drew that orange arrow. We were either going to break up or down out of the range that we established. I gave a little more buy. I favored going up because it made everything look a little prettier. I kind of expected to go down because we needed the retrace. This was a big move up. We needed the retrace. We needed to hold. And we're writing that, like, look, 1 candle resistance, 2 candle resistance, 3 candle resistance, 4 candle resistance, and rejection. Back up to the zone. Couldn't break out, couldn't break out, couldn't break out. Then gap up and, came back, tested it one more time, and then run away. Ran out of steam. Now we're right back down in that zone. One more time. If you don't see it, it's right there. Resistance, 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 resistance. Resistance, resistance, resistance. Pop above, support, support. Can we hold support here? Or are we going to push on down back to that purple trend line? Purple downtrend line that was all of 2022, and also the 200-day moving average sitting right in there. So I've got a couple other things to share with you this morning. Goldman says no one is positioned for a rally. Everyone wants it to roll over. You know what happens when everyone wants it to roll over? You know what happens? We do something else. So everybody wants it to roll over instead of being forced to chase it higher. That's the likely path right there. When everybody wants it to do one thing or everybody expects it to do one thing, the market does the opposite. So this goes into talking about, blah, 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 why this, that, and the other, and the fact that nobody is prepared for it to just rip higher. Yeah, go up, right? Oh, one other thing before I flip this chart off, I pulled this up. This is the damage the Fed is doing to all of us. And this is the cost of basically buying a $500,000 house with 20% down. Used to, over a 30-year, was $600,000 basically. Now the interest rate is around 6.5%. That is now 50% more at $900,000. So crazy over that 30-year. So the cost of living up 50%, if you want to look at it that way, for buying a house. Just with the interest rate going from 3 to 6. Crazy stuff. Anyway, let's jump into what's moving today, shall we? ES just kind of parking it right on the roadmap line there. Zooming it up a little bit so we can see a little better. Parking right at, pushed just a little lower. Pushed right down to the roadmap line. Beautiful. Right down. I mean, if just follow the arrow right down, right? Should put arrows going up. Well, that can hold support right there. And we may see a bounce today and then another retest before we can actually go in earnest. Of course, the day's going to tell us. We have the FOMC minutes coming out at 2 p.m. So watch for fireworks at 2 p.m. if you're out there doing day trades. All right. NQ also holding the roadmap line. Beautiful. And Russell coming up just a little short. So there is opportunity and room for Russell to pull back just a little more. But it's been leading the whole year, and this may be it for Russell. Like it can be the bottom here. Let me do one little check here. Yeah, it could definitely pull back just a little bit more. Had a little more room. So dollar, it's got room to pop, but that's a big rejection tail, and it's still not been able to get up in that zone. So it's finding a lot of resistance right at that zone right there. Right where that top was. Rejection of that. Top there yesterday. Been rejected down already today. So watch for the dollar to get above about that dollar, let's say $1.35, $1.35-ish. Now, keeping this one on the list because it's a short squeeze hedge fund play, just to keep an eye on it. It's not really moving today. So moving on, AMC is popping a little bit. Not a huge amount, but probably going to go back to the roadmap line. We pushed above that last high there. Could potentially get going on something more bullish, but that was a kind of a 3-wave up into the roadmap line, which indicates that we may see a drop to a lower low. Be careful if you're chasing AMC. Volatile sucker, but resistance up here, right up at the roadmap line, and it has a pattern set for going lower. Flocky, no idea what this is exactly. Flocky Inu. This was on Stock Twits as a big mover. And getting some trending topic here. So, yeah, obviously it's working on a breakout here. I mean, that's number one. And it's up off the lows from back in June. So this is following the path of Ethereum, except here the last few weeks we have gotten a little more excited than Ethereum or Bitcoin. So this is like 4 decimal points and a 5 on the price. So you could buy a whole ton of it, but I don't recommend it. I mean, that's dangerous stuff. I have it, Flocky Tether, because I couldn't find a US dollar one that had a good chart, but Tether is basically a dollar peg thing, so USDT. And so that's essentially the dollar price. All right, Anchor is on the list too as a mover, and look at that baby pop. I don't know why I like Anchor. I have no idea. I've been fascinated with it for like a year, and we have resistance that we're obviously finding right there. We break above that 5, looks like 6-cent area right there, and Anchor can get a pretty good run going back up into this 10-12 cent area right up here. All right, next up, PANW. Wow, what a pop. Look at that, earnings pop. Beating on the top, beating on the bottom. Nice little pop from 166 yesterday, 183 today. Probably jumped down to the 15-minute, yeah. Right on earnings and pop and park. It's got to break out higher to keep going, obviously. And right, let's see. Yeah, we came up, back test the trend line, and pop and go. The resistance we got to get above is right there. We get above that, and then we got the ultimate high right there. And that's a long way up. Well, kind of a long way up, but kind of not at the same time. I mean, if it's going to move 20, almost 20 bucks, 15 bucks, doesn't take many of those to get above and head to all-time highs. So next up, coin getting talked about on StockTwits, getting slammed just a little bit at 20 cents or so. Stuck on the roadmap line. It looks like it wants to go down more, so be careful on that one. I kind of expect it to get a little bit deeper retrace here. Wingstop, man, they must have beat on earnings, said some good stuff. Look at that, beat on top, beat on the bottom. They just opened a new location behind my house. I thought that was interesting. There used to only be one in town, now there's 2 in town, I think. Maybe 3 in town now. And we can't eat there because they're cooking soybean oil. Nice pop on Wingstop. Almost the same prices as PANW. It's kind of crazy. Look at that. 166.89, 166.21. Almost the same pop. So, funny stuff. Looks like right up to the highs. If you can break out above the highs, right there, it's in clear air. And the upside target, it would be ridiculous because of this pullback right here. Next resistance 220, then 262 above that. Big move. TCBP. I wanted to say TCBY. It's country's best year. TCBP looks like garbage. Yeah, nothing great there. TJX looks like it's getting slammed. Be careful. Looks like it disappointed on the top. Well, that's in line, and they just must have guided lower because, and look at this, probably going to do this. Probably going to go back to the roadmap line. They were in relatively clear air, it looks like. Just needs a little recharge, and then it can push higher again. Intel, I'm sure. Yeah, that one's just in a bearish pattern and probably needs a lower low to get out of this funk. It's got to get lower than that. If you're trying to be bullish on Intel, don't. That one's got some trouble. Got to get below this 24, probably in the low 20s is where it's going to find a bottom. That's a wave 4 action. Going to push one more lower, at least before it can build a reversal. UNG also pushing. Oh, it's getting a little pop this morning. Has been continuing to push lower, and it's well below the support. Well below the lows from 21, well below the lows from 20, and not looking so hot. Where's the reversal? I don't know. That's a falling knife right there. Baidu. Getting a nice little 10-point pop there. Coming to the open. Don't have earnings for a little bit yet. Zoom it up. Yeah, so as I've said for a couple days, above that, if we can get above that resistance, stick above that resistance. And it's kind of it keeps getting rejected in that area too. So we got to get above that thing to get some higher prices on Baidu. And it made lower highs all the way down through here. So be careful, be careful, be careful. It's China garbage. So Wix, fair pop. It's got this trend line cooking. If it were to break out above that, it could get really bullish. Otherwise, probably resistance at that trend line, and it just keeps on chopping. Oh, that was cool. That was not the trend line I tried to copy. There we go. And yeah, just kind of running the channel. So, looks like the market just opened. Pop through a few more of these. Fiverr, trying to get above the roadmap line and move higher. ZS, below the roadmap line. That is kind of a bearish pattern, looking for a lower low. UTH UTHR. Back below the roadmap line. Be careful on that. Looks like disappointed on the top and the bottom numbers. Could come back up and retest that, but be careful on that one. It may do that, like bouncy bounce, hang out the roadmap line for a couple days, and then pop again. So it doesn't have to be bearish. Yeah, see, it tends to come down, hang out the roadmap line, and then extend. So watch for it to break back above that 260 price right there, and it could probably extend higher. Something like that right there, 294 or 308 on the upside. Keys, Keysight Technology, looks like it got slammed, even though beat on the top, beat on the bottom, made money. Outlook must have been poor because they got slammed hard. Let's see, CSGP, also beat on the top, beat on the bottom, and slam. Interesting. I'd watch that one. Looks like it wants to push back down to these lows right here. Potentially. Zip. Wow, that was a nice big slam. Right back to the roadmap line. Beat on the top, beat on the bottom, made some money. But outlook must have been bad because it came right back down toward the roadmap line. Look for it to find support and bounce there. MTDR. Also getting a slam, beat on the top, beat on the bottom. Man, lots of these getting slammed after beating on the top and bottom. That looks like a corrective move. And the target could be right down here around 46. Could push down to 44. Snowflake. Just trying to get through the roadmap line. Chopping. It's got resistance above. Right there. Rejected right off of it. And that looks almost like a three-wave retrace. That could be, yeah, that's almost perfect to 1272. Bounce here. You know, I would set an alert. If you're looking to chase Snowflake, set an alert around that 175. Then watch for it to get rejected about that 205, 206 area. All right, that's kind of what's moving for the day. Looks like the market is open. Open a little bit green. Hopefully have a bounce day here. This can bounce off the roadmap line. Watch for a little volatility as we come into the FOMC at 2 o'clock. FOMC minutes, not an FOMC meeting. So, all right, that's what's moving today. I'm expecting a rally today. That's just my bias for the day. So be careful out there. The account you save may be your own. And I'll see you again tomorrow at 9:15 for the Morning Monster. What's moving?